Hi, hello, friends. Welcome back to Night Court Narrative. My name is Elvish. I hope you are doing fantastic today. Today was supposed to be the official start of Spooptimber, which I very unfortunately, I guess, unintentionally started Spooptimber last week with Suburban Hell. My bad. I was like, wait, that just fits so well. If you're new here, September, October are the spoopier months when November and December are the cozier holiday-ish months, and then the rest of the year we just do whatever we want. But today we are discussing the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I am going to be honest with you. Typically, whenever I do my podcast and whenever we discuss books, it is a one-time go. I tell you about the book, I'm honest about my opinions, and then we call it a day. You either agree, you disagree, you love it, you hate it. It doesn't matter. However, this is the third time recording this video, and I stop it about 10 minutes in. So I've been ideally recording this video for the last hour and a half, and I don't know if this is going to be the finished product that you see or if I'm going to attempt again, but let's go ahead. Let's get started. I do want to give the mini summary as always. There are spoilers, so if you do not want spoilers on this book, I will see you in the next video. If you do want spoilers, yes. Let me go ahead and get the summary out, and then we'll discuss it about like why I've recorded it so many times. Yeah. So we do have our main character, Patricia Campbell. She's a stay-at-home mom, which takes place in 1988. She feels very unfulfilled and overwhelmed by her responsibilities to her husband, her children, and her mother-in-law. She is seeking escape, so she joins a true crime book club and other housewives, forming close friendships over several years. A mysterious stranger known as James Harris arrives in town after his great aunt, Mrs. Savage, attacks Patricia and later dies. Took off her entire ear, mind you. Patricia initially helps James settle into the neighborhood. Odd events do begin occurring, including dead or missing children in 6 Mile, a predominantly black neighborhood. Patricia becomes suspicious of James, especially after witnessing him feed on children. Her warnings are ignored by police and family, obviously. After a young girl named Destiny dies, Patricia attempts suicide and agrees to stop pursuing James. We now have a time skip where 3 years later, Patricia learns from the ghost of Miss Mary that James is actually Hoyt Pickens. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. He is a man responsible for murders and framing a black man decades earlier. Patricia and Miss Green find Francine's corpse in James' attic and begins gathering allies. James also assaulted a book club member, Slick. We like Slick here. And has been feeding on Patricia's daughter. The book club members do unite to kill James. Patricia lures him in as bait, and together the women succeed in destroying him. And of course, very unfortunately, Slick does pass. Patricia divorces her cheating husband, and yeah. That was so fast. I am so sorry. Okay. So I want to be very, very real and straightforward. I feel like if I start this video just opening up and being very honest, I feel like I'll have an easier way of discussing it and it would come out better. I am personally the type of person that doesn't get offended by anything. I don't find topics very sensitive. I don't like ever calling things controversial. I don't like doing any of that because I always feel like you can learn from something, and I always feel like there is, I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that. So I'm typically the one that like nothing bothers me, and I kind of just not necessarily sweep it under the rug, but I just kind of shrug it off. I'm like, okay, we'll get the next one, you know. However, this book felt very wrong. There were parts of this book. Now, as a quick disclaimer, this book was good. I ended up giving this book a 4-star rating for what it was. The beginning and the end had such great pace, and I really enjoyed more so the ending. It sucks that you had to wait 40-ish chapters to get to the really juicy part, but the ending of the book was really good. I actually did enjoy it a lot. The beginning started pretty great. The middle was kind kind of felt like the author had kind of like a writing slump towards the middle, so the middle did kind of die down and it was a little bit boring. But ultimately, I did really like the ending, and I think the ending is what gave the book its true rating. But ultimately, I feel like this book is problematic. And I hate saying that because I never say that, but I also hate the fact that this book feels like stereotypes are just completely flying through it and nobody is batting an eye. And it kind of bothers me because any type of character, so going off of 6 Mile, and this is not the only thing I'm discussing, but going off of 6 Mile, as I mentioned, it is quote unquote the hood. It is how the author portrays the hood of the South. You obviously, we go there one time in the book, and I understand. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand the narrator because I did the audio. Oh, I did half audiobook, half physical book. I can't read physical books at work, so I have to switch to audiobooks. Granted, the narrator is, I think she's also black. I think so. I can understand the argument of, well, it's coming from her, so it's not bad. But you also have to keep in mind that this is a white male author, so having him completely change the dialogue, not necessarily change the dialogue as in like an accent or something, but it was the most forced black accent that I have ever heard. It was kind of gross, if I'm being honest with you. And every other character that we got was either a waiter or a waitress of some rundown restaurant or like cafe, or they were caretakers that had no lines and they had to basically clean shit up from other people, or they were servers at houses and whatnot. And it just kind of, I don't know, it was very gross. And I understand there were a lot of stereotypes as far as like what they ate, what they drank, stuff like that. And I know people are gonna say, man, that's a stretch, but like it really did feel it made me feel very uncomfortable, and I don't feel uncomfortable by books, movies, anything ever. So the fact that I felt this way, I feel like I don't want to ignore it, you know? And it just, I don't know, it felt very gross. And then on a second, like on another tangent kind of about the same thing, it just makes me feel uncomfortable because when he wrote some of these female characters, it was, I understand it's supposed to be like a thriller. We're focusing on like creepy, dark, disgusting stuff like rats eating humans and whatnot. But every single time he mentions a female character and it's supposed to be this grotesque thing, he talks about her body in like a very inappropriate way, talking about like her pubic hair and like her like low hanging boobs, and like I don't know, it's weird like to sit there and I don't know. And it also, like, this book was overwritten a lot. There were moments that were supposed to be serious, with the women like rallying together and the bad guy taking his last stand and blah blah blah, you know? And then it's just like the dialogue was cheesy. It's just, I don't know. There was even a woman in here that I can't remember her name. Maybe it was Slick. I don't know. But there was a woman at the beginning. She just joined and they were talking and she was like, yeah, my husband won't let me read these books. And so I pretended like this is church and my husband won't let me do this because my husband is everything. But mind you, she's basically being written as like this, like I have to go home and ask my husband for permission on absolutely everything. And I'm just like, okay, I understand it's the late 80s, early 90s. That's fine. But at the same time, she has the most stereotypical redneck accent, and I'm not talking about like a southern accent. Like, I'm from Texas. I'm not talking about like a southern. I'm talking about like full on redneck incest cousin brother accent. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening in this book? Like, what the fuck is happening? And of course, all the white men in this book are portrayed as gods. They're well written, and obviously they're all douchebags and dickheads that fucking go out and get as much ass as humanly possible and whatnot. But of course, the women are written as dumb bimbo blondes that don't know left from fucking right. And then when you do get a different character of color, they are servants, helps, and useless. And it's just like, there's so much problematic shit in this book that I just did not like it. And that sucks, because another video that I'm going to be recording is from the same author. I have already previously read it. I've read it twice. I also watched the movie that came out about it. I really liked it, and I'm going to be discussing that. But it's just from that and like this book compared to that book just feel like two completely different authors, and I did not like it. There was a review on Goodreads. I would like y'all to go read it if you would like. Apparently this person is an author as well. Their name is Kai Spellmeyer. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. But I'm not going to read the review for you, but the first part I want to read is the very first sentence of the book, or of the review. It says, and I quote, "People's refusal to see sexism and harmful representation when it looks them straight in the face is what led this book to have such great reviews." Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I definitely want you to go read that review. Because honestly, I couldn't agree more with it. And then part of their review, sorry, I assumed, my bad. The part of their review, it also says, oh, but the historical accuracy, I understand it's historical accuracy, and as someone, I mean, granted, I was a child in the 90s, but as someone who grew up in the 90s, I understand that you get, there have been stuff, how do I say that? How do I phrase this? I understand. Let me just go to my main point. People are acting as if, like, the author is acting as if this book is taking place in the 1950s, where segregation was still incredibly strong, where the rich white men should basically own the side characters, and that's not cool. And I don't like, this book just fucking upsetted me. And I know I gave this book a 4-star. I gave it the 4-star because of the ending and how the writing was at the ending. I actually kind of liked how cheesy the ending was and how cheesy the dialogue was. If I gave a rating based off of the topics at hand, it would be a 1-star, obviously, because you can't give below 1. But I don't know. I just feel like this book, like I've said multiple times, this book is very problematic. This book is very, I mean, borderline sexist. It wasn't even 1000% great, but it did give me very good vibes as far as the vampirism goes. I do like that side. I like how the women got together. It was kind of like the women for themselves. So that's also part of the reason why it got a good rating. And don't get me wrong, the writing was good. It was kind of overwritten in some aspects. There were chapters that were twice as long as what they should have been, because we could have easily gone from point A to point B within like 2 to 3 pages, but it took 20 to 25 pages. I get that. The descriptions weren't overbearing. He didn't overly describe everything, which was pretty good. And overall, it was a good book. I did like her children as well. It was very weird towards the end whenever James is feeding on his daughter. So apparently when the vampires feed on the children. They're obviously biting the inside of the thigh, and it's like this whole euphoric gotta have it feeling where like you just miss it and you're in pure ecstasy. Now take everything I just said, and mind you, I'm talking about children here. It was very fucking disgusting, and I don't know how old Patricia's daughter was, but to me it was portrayed like she was between 15 and maybe 17. So to me personally, she wasn't of age. She might have been, but I never picked up on that in the book. So hearing and reading a book about a grown ass man, granted he's like a few hundred years old, I understand he's a vampire, I get that, but still having a grown man give this child a euphoric feeling and all that, like, it was very disgusting. It was very inappropriate ultimately, and I did not enjoy that whatsoever. And I feel like, dude, now that I'm actually talking about all this out loud, I'm actually lowering my rating, like, for sure. Because, yeah, I'm at least gonna lower it to a 2, because I do think the ending was good. I just don't think that how he wrote the females, how he wrote all the side characters, how he wrote all of the children, I just don't think any of it is appropriate, and I just feel very disgusting even talking about it, and it sucks. Again, I've recorded this video 3 different times now, and I don't like giving reviews because I don't like being that fucking person. But I'm just talking in circles now. So either way, that is my review. If you disagree, obviously, if you do agree, obviously, yeah, I don't know. I also think the title is so misleading. They never actually talk about slaying vampires at all, mind you, and I know this is also a reach. They never talk about slaying vampires until finally she brings it up during one of the last chapters, and they go out and actually do something about the one vampire in town. So it's also very, very misleading. You kind of go into this book thinking that you're gonna get multiple vampires, or that vampires start roaming the city, but that's just not it. Yeah, I'm kind of, as I'm talking, I'm kind of scrolling through Goodreads right now. There's another one. This one is Lisa Lynch. Their review, mind you, I'm only gonna, they in a way titled their points. So the title of this point is, I felt like Hendrix wanted me as a reader to be as complacent as the characters in the book about misogyny, racism, and sexism that permitted the entirety of the text. Yeah. So with that also being said, clearly I'm not the only one. So with that being said, I am heading out. I do hope you guys, I mean, if you guys do end up reading this book, let me know what you thought. If you completely full on disagree with me, please let me know. I would love to hear it. If you do agree with me, I again would like to hear it. I feel very weird, and like, the book wasn't good enough for me to sit here and do a whole ass review about it. And I understand at that point you're going to be like, okay, well, why even record the video? Because I have a certain amount of videos I have to get out a year. I have to get my videos out, and I can't just sit there and constantly keep reading books and be like, nope, that's boring, next. I don't, with my work life, and I don't know if y'all know this, but I have a small business on Etsy. I don't have time to just keep reading and then pick the one out of all of it when I'm a solo man. I'm a one-man army. I do it all. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'm sorry for this horrible review, but I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.